Lave Radio, transmitting to every corner of the galaxy.
Testing 1 2 1 2.
Lave radio. It's even louder than me. Wait a minute. That can't be right.
We buy any ship,
bar none.
We buy any ship,
Bar none. Any model, any colour, any shape, any size.
We buy any ship,
Bar none. We here at We Buy Any Ship Bar None are ready to take your excess space travel vehicles off your hands. No more negotiating with dodgy space station vendors. We'll simply give you an estimated quote online, Then, when you get here, we'll point out all the little dints and scratches that make the price get smaller and smaller before we actually give you any money. And the beauty is, we take any ship.
We buy any ship.
Bar none. Terms and conditions apply. We buy any ship excludes trading in any of the following vehicles: Adder, Anaconda, Asp, Boa, Cobra, Constrictor, Cruisers, Eagle, Falcon, Gecko, Griffin, Gear, Harris, Harrier, Hawk, Kestrel, Crate, Lanners, Lifters, Lions, Mantis, Merlin, Moray, Osprey, Panther, Puma, Python, Saker, Sidewinder, Skeet, Spar, Stowmaster, Tearsel, Tiger, Transporter, Turner, Viper, Wyvern, or any Imperial or Thargoid vessel.
Get ready. Lave Radio.
Galnet News Digest, 5th of August 3307. We evaluate the news so you don't have to.
In this week's news, Salvation goes on holiday.
What would Marlin think?
The scribbling senator does a runner. Salvation goes on holiday. According to his own claims, Salvation will save humanity. But what has happened to him? Where is our Salvation? Popping out of the woodwork from time to time, this mysterious character called Salvation has been guiding us to discover the missing megaships of the Azimuth Corporation and to find out what Azimuth and its rival Pharma Sapien were up to. It turns out that they were trying to use alien technology to make more powerful weapons, something that engineer Ramtar achieved nearly 200 years later and that Aegis Research was trying to do before they so carelessly lost all their Guardian research samples. It seems likely then that Salvation is going to give us a new anti-Thargoid weapon, perhaps the sort of weapons that will defeat real Thargoids when they start invading settlements. And we believed him. Commanders fell behind Salvation, not Aegis, in the latest appeal for Guardian objects to analyse and turn into something deadly. And he has a megaship full of such artefacts, but despite this, we haven't heard a peep out of Salvation since the 1st of July, when he said, "Thank you very much for all the artefacts," promised to change everything, and then, apparently, disappeared off on holiday without leaving a forwarding address. Should we trust this Salvation, or is he living in the south of France, making a living by selling Guardian artefacts for the locals to make into cheese? The return of Salvation is overdue. We should be worried.
What would Marlin think? Marlin Duval was the ancestor of the current Duval dynasty who established the Republic of Achenar. What would she think of the current attempts to establish a new republic to replace the Empire? Well, not very much. She's been dead for nearly 1,000 years, having been murdered by her sibling, and that length of time dead really doesn't help with opinion forming. But just assuming she were alive today and that she wasn't getting a bit senile, would she think that the Marlinists had anything going for them? Marlin would probably be smart enough to realise that the Empire isn't going anywhere. A bit of dissent on the fringes, rapidly driven out by decisive action by Senator Petraeus, means that the Marlinists, showing their hand through the kind agency of the Neo-Marlinist Liberation Army, has resulted in the Empire being stronger than ever, with all the Republicans left disconsolately and not entirely willingly outside the border in a loosely connected and heavily politically divided group of colonies that are rapidly becoming subsumed into the better organised and more powerful factions that border them. The NMLA set off bombs and assassinated a few of the less important Duvals, but now they want to talk with the Empire from a position of no power at all. Scorned by their own people, they've reverted to letting off bombs. Not against the Empire, but against their fellow Marlinists. It's perfectly possible that the Marlinists will wipe themselves out before their neighbouring powers have finished assimilating them. So, what would Marlin Duval think? Probably something along the lines of, "Oh my God, is this really the best they can do?" It's probably just as well she's been dead this last 1,000 years.
The scribbling senator does a runner. Scribbling Senator Drew Wagar is said to be unhappy with the way the galaxy is turning out. A bit of a traditionalist. He liked it well enough when it was all in 4 colours and wireframe. So did I. It was great. But now you can get out of your ship and walk about. The wise old chronicler of the salami sausage story has decided that the galaxy may not be for him after all. Rather than completing the sort of diplomatic mission that someone of his high standing might be expected to, The senator is reported to be running a holovid service from his bedroom. During his broadcast, he's heard to profess with ever-increasing pitch and desperation how much he is enjoying playing baby's first space game. Something that some commentators doubt is entirely true. It seems possible that the senator thinks that by pretending not to like the real galaxy and by playing games in his bedroom instead, that the galaxy might somehow magically change into something he likes better. How terribly, terribly senatorial. And that's this week's Galnet News.
Galnet News, we evaluate the news while wearing a silly hat, so you don't have to.
We make news about computer games in our bedrooms, so you don't have to.
The Lave Radio Project was our last best hope for news. A self-contained podcast 2 hours long, located in neutral territory. A place of nonsense and innuendo for forum dads, community members and developers. A shining beacon in space, all alone on a Tuesday night. It was the dawn of the third chapter of Elite. The year's space legs came upon us all. This is the story of the last of the Lavian stations. The year is 3307. The name of the place? Lave Radio.
Greetings, Commanders, and welcome to episode 353 of Lave Radio, the show that likes to talk about the universe of Elite and the fantastic community that's around it. I'm your host, Commander Phoenix to Fire, otherwise known as Colin Ford, the Chief Archivist of Lave Station, and joining me in the Orange Sidewinder bar for this episode, we have our Inhuman Resources Director, Commander Shan.
Hello.
We have our Staff Liaison Officer, Commander Psykit. Who's gone quiet. And we also have, I don't know, Squeer-in-Chief, Commander Crash.
Greetings.
Welcome. Right, well, if you wish, you can join us live. We do have the Chris Mark IV. He's hanging out in the game, in open, hopefully somewhere around Lave Station. We hope. But if you can't get to us in game, we're also at the Twitch chat channel, which we can access through laveradio.com/live. You can click on the live chat or go straight to twitch.tv/laveradio, or YouTube, go to Lave Radio, or on Facebook, go to Lave Radio. So I will quickly go around everybody here and see how they've been since we've last seen them. So we'll start with Commander Shan.
Hello. Right, I'm feeling very pleased with myself this week because I have been a proper grown-up this week. On Friday, Mrs. Shan and I went off to a place called Walton on the Naze, and we walked around the top of Walton on the Naze, which is all salt marshes and stuff like that. Which was great. I mean, it was like from Lord of the Rings, you know, with the marshes that suck people in and stuff like that. So it was a great walk, really nice, until we got about halfway round the 8 mile walk, and then the heavens opened, and we have never ever been so wet in a rainstorm at all. It was just drenched us. Fortunately, there was a coffee shop after the 4 mile walk in the cold and wet and rain, which we squelched, sat down, and had the wonderful healing balm as a cup of tea. So we then, when it started raining, we dashed back to the car and we drove the 2 hours home, still in wet socks. Got home and parked the car up, got in. I got changed into clean clothes, and then the rain caught up with us, and it rained so hard it flooded our driveway and blocked both drains up. So there was a depth of water there, up good 2 or 3 inches deep in our driveway with the blocked drains. So I then had to get out of my dry clothes, get into my shorts, kneel down, put my hand into the blocked drains, scoop out tons of gump and stuff like that, while surrounded by cold, smelly water. and then I got wet 3 times that day, and I definitely deserve grown-up points for that, I think.
Yep. Up here in Manchester, the rain has been unbelievable. I mean, normally you used to a nice bit of wet up here, but it has been basically just, yeah, monsoon season. Commander Psychic, welcome back. Are you recovered from last week?
First and foremost, can you hear me?
We can hear you fine.
No,
Okay,
not at all,
okay.
Psychic.
Thanks, Shan. Never change. I'm about halfway there. I
You're
would
about halfway.
say about halfway there. I'm feeling well enough. I'm feeling well enough to be back sat talking to you guys. That's for sure for my sins. Thanks for having people come and stand in for me last week.
Yeah,
I was listening.
It took 3 of them.
I know, but they did an awfully good job.
Well, we're also going to welcome Commander Crash to the Orange Sidewinder Bar. How have you been, sir, since the last time you were on last month?
Not too bad, not too bad. I'm in the process of avoiding a black hole. I was hoping I'd get out of the way before I had to unmute. But yeah, busy or daunting, much like avoiding black holes. That's what my life has been like, really. It's so much stuff going on, but in a good way, keeping the boys busy. It's summer holidays now, so we've had a 4-day weekend just gone down to my brother's place, and we were just sat up late and playing games and catching up and doing all kinds of silly things like that. It's been good fun.
Excellent. Well, let's quickly touch on what I've been doing. Plenty of Elite. Obviously, I'm cycling to and from work, so getting caught in those kind of rain showers that Shan was. Basically, I now feel like I'm a fish with a bike. That's how I feel right at the moment. But yes, but I did actually get into. I mean, I've had it for months, but and there are people on the stream who have probably completed this game by now. But I finally got around to actually starting Cyberpunk 2077, and I must admit that game got its hooks into me big and proper. And yeah, that's definitely going to be my other game to run concurrently for now. Shan, you wanted to ask me something?
Yes, I was going to ask you if I was actually going to ask you my commiserations, actually, Colin. I was going to ask you if you're feeling okay.
If I'm feeling okay.
Yes, after the news this week.
Okay, and what news would that be?
That Geronimo, the alpaca, is fated to be put down. And seeing as your love for alpacas, I wondered if you were feeling the loss.
Right. I hadn't actually heard about this. What is this about an alpaca that's got to pass?
Well, apparently, Geronimo, the much-loved alpaca, has got tuberculosis,
Ooh.
and in order, it's pretty untreatable in alpacas, but in order to save the alpacas and the sheep, around it, he has to be put down in case
He passes it on.
in case he spreads it, and but because he's a well-loved pet, and people are obviously very upset about Geronimo the alpaca, and it's made national news, which is why I thought you'd have heard about it. I'd have thought you'd been right up there to be by his stable side, offering him, well, whatever alpacas eat, grass soup or something like that, and comforting him by holding a hoof as they put him down.
I don't know if all of a sudden you think I'm some kind of I don't know, all creatures great and small kind of vet person, but no. It's give Colin time to unpack the news. Oh, come on.
The thing is, though, Colin. You refuse to answer or not whether you went to visit the alpaca sanctuary, whether you'd examined the alpacas anally. You wouldn't answer that question. So,
well, let me
style.
Let me reassure you that was certainly not part of the package, and I didn't take advantage of any form of I don't know where we're even going with this. Let's just say no and move on from there before this gets even
I'm
weirder.
feeling a little ill again. I think I'm just gonna head off.
I know. We've gone from there's an ill alpaca, and now he's on about me. Yeah, I think this is bizarre. We don't need Ben around here just for it to get weird, do we?
Nah, Shan's got that covered.
Yeah. If if anybody's wondering what's happened to Ben, Ben is summer holidays with family. So yes.
Yeah, so I thought Ben had gone on a manscaping instruction course.
Oh no.
That's hand in hand with it, apparently.
Well, according to the Independent, Colin, all hell will break loose if Geronimo is killed and then tests negative for TB, says the expert. So I think you should be on the social media, on the Twitter, demanding a reprieve for Geronimo.
Yeah, can they tell? Oh no, I'm not going to get dragged into this. I'm not going to get dragged into this. We will move on from any alpaca news into the development news, which has been happening in the world of Elite Dangerous this week. Well, let's just say at the beginning of this week, not much has been happening. Obviously, last week they announced that Super Cruise News has now moved to every other week. So yeah, that was a little bit of a surprise. They had a flight assist challenge. 6.01 has bedded in quite nicely. I'm pleased to say that the POI missions that we were talking about last week, they do work. The only thing is apparently you don't get the little green check to say it's been complete. But when you hand it into the other guy, to the mission handler, they accept it quite fine. So it does seem that that's working 99%. The Burrs were back on the live stream on Thursday, showing off the new camera. Sweet. I'm getting alpaca news in the threads now in the stream. I don't. I'm just blocking it. Yeah, the Burrs were back on stream using the new camera suite. Did anybody catch that one?
Yes.
What did you think, Psyche?
It was really fun stream. It's the Burrs, isn't it? They're just lovely people, and it was really nice to have them on stream. They're lovely people. I don't know anyone personally. I don't know anyone who is better with the camera suite, especially when taking video than Rini. She is an absolute god with the camera suite. So
it's something.
it was
Somehow
so good to watch.
Somehow they managed to be able to capture. It's got such a good eye at capturing certain angles and coming up with interesting passes that I don't think. I think Turgeon and company can certainly match them. Well, they can match them, but for the sheer amount of volume that the Burrs are kicking out, top rate. Yes, and then finally today we had Super Cruise News 44, which is the first of the bi-weekly updates. We did actually have some interesting information there. They showed off the upcoming functionality of the Apex redirect, which will be coming in update 7. They've also shown off the issues tracker report, which will show how the top 20 issues their state is. And they were going through the ones that were being looked at, or which ones have been fixed and which ones will be further down the line. And then they finally announced that update 7 itself will be coming to us sometime in September. So, guys, let's see. Shan, you wanted to start first.
Yeah, I thought this was spot on actually for the issue tracker. I mean, it's basically a recrib of what Flight Sim 2020 does, but then that's no bad thing. So yeah, I was actually, it was really good to see his top 10 with the number of votes, etc., like that. So sort of like a top of the pops really in terms of fixes.
Yeah, it's funny you should mention that because halfway through, Zach, I was there going, these two sound like Smashy and Nicey at the moment.
Yes, well, I mean, it's interesting to see what they're fixing and what they're still TBCing. The planetary features, the thing we went to last week, that's a TBC. They're not sure when that's going to be fixed, although they are still working on it. So yeah, the link will be in the show notes, and there's also a forum post about it. But yeah, if this is what they are going to continue to do with the issues, I think it's a definite step in the right direction. The one question I have, though, I'm not sure if they answered that on the stream, is do we know how they count the votes, and can we ask our minions and our friends to vote for the issues that we want and sort of somehow skew the results?
I'd rather we didn't.
Well, that's what the anti-Xeno initiative have been doing. They've whenever the Thargoid heart bug comes up, they're always asking people, please go vote for it. We need them to know this isn't fixed.
Yeah, so to be fair, I'd rather have the issues that were affecting the most people rather than it become a canvassing contest for people. And that's why I was asking the question: is how do they count the votes, or do you think they know now? Thanks, Colin. That the anti-Xeno people spam for votes for the invincible Thargoid heart.
Crash, do you want to take it, Nick? And then Psychic, can you follow?
Sure, no problem. I was going to say keep politics out of it. Oh, that's the last thing I want. Got enough of that in real life. I don't want it happening there. No, it's good to see that they're putting a system up in there which makes it more transparent as to what's going on behind the scenes. Kind of odd how some of the things fit in with what's the most popular versus what gets prioritized to the top. There's some things there, like the number 3, for example, tuning planetary features is still to be decided because they need to look into it a bit more. But some other things, which relatively minor, have bubbled quite high up. But we'll have to see how it works out. I think as long as it's updated frequently, it's got relevant information in, and the opposite of what Shan was saying is hopefully the way that it goes, and we don't get too much spamming of votes for the sake of it.
Yeah.
We get something which is a bit more workable for the entire community. I think my big concern with that is the fact that there are some things which there's a lot of noisy people, but are not necessarily the most important things on there. There are several things I don't see on this top 20 that I would consider to be considerably more important than what I'm seeing on there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it does seem to be tempered by what is low-hanging fruit and what requires more work. So, for example, the planetary features, they've said that's a lot of work and TBC. So you think, well, wouldn't they drop that down to number 3 and just have wouldn't they basically sort it in order of planned release rather than by number of votes?
I think that's what a lot of people were asking for. Was we want to see what's been the most upvoted, what's the most pertinent as far as the community is concerned. So this is what they're showing us. However, is it really what they're showing us? Let's say Invincible Thargoid Heart, have 243 commanders fully experienced in Invincible Thargoid Heart, or have Anti-Xeno Initiative, for example, gone and said everybody needs to vote this. I will only upvote something if I've experienced it myself, rather than if somebody else has experienced. And I think that is the best way to do it going forward, so we know what's affecting the most people.
It is interesting that there are some things that on there that I think personally are remarkable by their omission. Things like engineering changes for ground suit engineering revamp and things like that. I would have thought would have been much higher up there, certainly more than NPC fighter kills in conflict zones.
I wouldn't necessarily think that they were that doesn't fall into like a bug category. That's something that we're not happy with the fundamental way that it's been implemented, and it's more of a balancing pass than just an error, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Crash.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. You hit the nail on the head, really. But like I said, there's some things on there which I don't see, but it's probably because it's either it's not affecting us people, or worse still, it affects people and it just completely puts them off even bothering to try and report it. And that's the other side of the coin, I think, which is being missed, and that's a big worry for me. Is and I've seen it in the player numbers of people have had some major issue happen to them, and they just think, well, what's the point? And they walk away, you know, that is the worst thing. Those are the things that need the most votes, but those are the things which have zero. You know what I mean?
So you think it's more of a squeaky wheel gets the oil sort of thing? Because I know yourself, Crash,
That's
you've had issues, haven't you, with
Yeah, yeah,
things
and
like that?
that's a big concern. I mean, I register these things, and I know for a fact there are lots of people that have severe issues, with the networking still, things dropping out, losing progress. My friend in particular, he had 2 or 3 hours of progress working into an engineer. Submitted the things, went from rank 4 to 5. The game just locked up. I was watching his screen because I was explaining how to do it for him. Um, Game locked up, comes back in, and he's lost all of his progression, all of his materials. 2 3 weeks of back and forth with the support guys, and they have no record of it on the server, and just don't offer to do anything. Which is like those are the sort of things which I think are bigger issues, which need to be solved because they are putting people off playing the game, and that's worse than the lighting not quite looking right in my eyes.
Yeah, indeed, yeah. So do you think they should produce another list then of most requested features or changes or something, and then have a plan what's happening about that particular feature?
I don't know if there's a good way of separating the two. I mean, when I look at this list of 20 on here, there's a lot of kind of mixed in things. There's things that I would consider to be genuine bugs. There's things that I consider to be features. For example, like joystick buttons 32 plus not working. It would be nice to
Well,
have it in.
that's a bug though, isn't it?
Yeah, I
Um,
mean that's just the way that the direct inputs handles the controls and things like that. But some of those things, it's like anti-aliasing, for example, and things. It's like they're not necessarily required for the game to function and work and be playable and enjoyable. Even the lighting things, which is number one at the top there. Okay, it's annoying and it looks bad and but the game still functions without that. But when you
you
have
know
something,
what?
go
Sorry, you know what Evil Shan would do, don't you?
on, go on.
Evil Shan will look down the list and ask which one's easily fixed, and then add a couple of hundred votes to the total, and then show it.
No, I'm not saying that Frontier would do that, but it's it certainly does seem like you said that some of the prioritization there has been on what's the low hanging fruit to get it across, and that kind of makes sense because you can't have the entire team working on the number one biggest problem. There's going to be a specific subset of the team which can work on that top problem, but then the rest of the team need to be given a task to do. So yeah, fine, set the rest of the task on other updates and things to kind of fill up that calendar, get everyone scheduled in for doing work and stuff like that. But like I said, it's the things that aren't on this list that concern me. The fact that there are still fairly extensive gameplay bugs and problems, and that's what I've experienced over the last couple of weeks myself. Is just loss of progress from performing in-game actions and having effectively data lost. Now, in a live service game, that's like sin number one. That's up there.
Yep.
That's the worst thing that can happen to players. And it's not just me. There's a whole bunch of individuals I know which have experienced that with this version of the game now, and it's put them off playing to the extent that they probably didn't even bother reporting that bug.
Yeah, that's completely devastating. And you then don't trust the game anymore, do you?
Yes.
That's the point. You then lose trust
Yeah.
that anything you do will stick.
Yeah. That's my fear.
So in general, though, thumbs up from you. Like it.
Yes, with a huge caveat of I'm not I don't feel super happy with people canvassing votes from other people who if they're not experiencing the issues, and I'll continue along this line for a really long time. As I say, I will only report something if it's if it's something that I've personally experienced. And I think that should be as standard.
Yeah, yeah. Well, obviously you've had some doubts, Crash. So is it a tentative thumbs up, or is it like the one thumb up,
Oh.
one thumb horizontal sort of thing?
Well, don't get me wrong. No, I mean, I think putting an issue tracker up, being more transparent. I think that's great. That's definitely a good progress. That's a step in the right direction. Providing dates as well. That's fantastic. They've actually gone to the extent of trying to estimate when they think they can get that in, so people can be realistic about when they see those problems. Like I said, my apprehension is the fact that it's the things that aren't on this list which are the biggest problems with the game right now, and I don't see how they're going to get addressed.
I haven't read all the thread. Have they clarified about that then, Crash, in somewhere, or is it
They're not
too
even
new?
listed. They're not even listed, and that's kind of my
I mean, this
concern.
this omission. No, this what happens to the really game-breaking bugs that may well be not popular, but still have a significant impact on players. I'm just wondering, have they actually said anything about that yet?
They did clarify that they were still these weren't the only things that they were working on, these were just the most upvoted things.
Yeah. So yeah, okay. So presumably, once they're fixed in update 7, actually looking at the, they got update 6 done. Why is that still on the list? If it's done, why is it still on the list?
Because people are still reporting problems with it. They're saying it's done, but in chat specifically, earlier, there were problems with when they said, "Oh, that was fixed in update 6," but people are still reporting it, and chat were like, "Yeah, that's because it's still broken, mate."
Well, it's
So
not. It's not done then, is it?
no, it
So
isn't.
sorry, Crash.
No, I was just thinking that is the classic developer done. That's hey, it compiled done. Is it done or is it done? And this is the challenge, and I don't hold any grudge to it at all because I understand it fully. I know what it's like on the other side of the coin, but you can't test every single scenario out there. You can't test every combination of PC hardware, for example, and every setup that someone's got. And what if someone's running a browser window with YouTube in the background? How does that affect GPU usage and screw up the lighting because it doesn't, calculate a lookup table quick enough? And there's all kinds of scenarios that can happen to them. So I can understand why they can think it's done from the scenarios that they are able to test. But then when it gets out there into the wide world, it falls down. So. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt on that one.
Apparently, they are now asking, with regard to the lighting problems, they're asking for specifics rather than lighting's buggered, mate. They want actual specifics of what's wrong with it now.
That is, and as I say, I mean, I absolutely feel from that. I know what that pain is like when you think you've got the problem solved, you've put the fix out there, it works for you, it works in all of your tests, but in one particular scenario with one person, it goes completely wrong, and it's like, well, what were you doing at the time? And you find out, like I said, it was something really obscure, like, oh well, I had YouTube running in a window. It's like, yeah, but you've got your Firefox extension on, and that's using GPU, and it's like, oh, turn that off and try again. Oh, it works now. you know.
So you think they should have another column that says like turned off and on again, yes or no?
Absolutely. Save about half the problems.
Yes, I'm well aware of these kind of fix-it lists. I'm working through one myself at the moment. Yeah, you want to think what I think of the tracker list, Jan?
Yes, please.
Well, I think it's the kind of thing that they really needed, that they really needed to do for a while. This kind of feedback is the kind of thing that's needed by the community so that they know that something is happening, because it looks like we're now going to monthly updates, and we all know how impatient the community can get when there doesn't seem to be much in the way of progress. I mean, I was just thinking, is this the kind of feedback that you were asking about? When we did the taking responsibility discussion.
No.
Okay, fair enough. Then obviously
It was part of what we were talking about, though, how they should use best practice from other games, i.e., Flight Sim 2020, and apply that to the issue tracker. And it seems they've done that. And as I said earlier, this is a great improvement on what we had before for the issue tracker. There's still some issues with it, but I would say it's a tentative good start, I think.
Yeah, I mean this kind of thing is it's basically a version of what is known as Kanban, where you instead of you making a judgment call on where you think the priority is, the community is making a judgment call of what's supposed to be the most important to them with their votes. And yeah, there are times where you could have minor bug as Prime Game Bitstorm has been saying you can have minor bugs that are affecting many players, and that gets high votes. But a major bug which affects less people won't get as much notice, but it should have priority. Which, psych it.
Doesn't mean that they're not working on it.
Oh yeah.
To again clarify, they specifically stated that this wasn't the only list that they were working on. This is just the top as voted by the community.
Yes, they did say on the stream that this was this wasn't what's just coming in Update 7. Update 7 is quite beefy. Crash.
Yeah, I think like you were saying about the Kanban stuff. I mean, it's a good approach. I think they're treating the public as like a product owner effectively, and getting their interest of them to say what is the priority feature that you want to see investigate. Because at the end of the day, there's a limited amount of time that they can work on a particular thing, and they've got to find some way of prioritizing it. So I think it makes sense. It's a good way of doing it.
See, I wasn't thinking about Kanban or anything fancy like that. I was thinking X Factor, where they have a developer pick up an issue from the issue tracker and then have to do a pitch for it in front of some judges, and then the equivalent of Simon Cowell.
How come I knew you were going to? You just want to be the Simon Cowell character, don't you? You want to be sat on that judging committee going, no, it's a no from me. It's a no from me. Just as Crash puts the meme into the chat. Yeah. I couldn't have asked for that better timing, Crash.
I am the meme lord.
So overall, I mean, what do you think about the timescale? Sometime in September. Do you think that is that going to keep you going? That's Shan.
Well, personally, I haven't got too many issues with anything on that list. My issues go beyond, shall we say, the superficial that's on that list. And as we said earlier, it kind of needs a requested features or a coming up features list, I think. But in terms of way of communicating what they're working on, I think it's a really good step forward. So I'm positive about it because of it's a step forward, not necessarily because I agree with all the contents of the list.
Crash.
Yeah. Overall, I think it's the right approach. And like I said, more transparency, more visibility is good. I just hope they are, as Psychic put it, that they are working on things behind the scenes, which are major game-breaking problems at the moment.
Yeah, and Psychic. I mean, you're okay to wait to September.
I mean, no, please pump it out earlier. No, of course I'm fine. Of course, what other choice do I have, Colin?
Yes, funny that we'll be talking about something like that later as well. But
but I don't have a I don't want to know what extra features they're bringing in. I don't want to have that spoilt for me. I might be like the only one who feels like that, but
yeah.
I don't want to know what's coming later. Just fix what's there at the moment. Tell us what you're working on with regard to fixing it, and then what's later. We know we're not going to get anything major or exciting until console gets Odyssey. So there's no point being wistful and hoping for brand new things before until that happens.
Crash, do you want to have the last word?
Yeah. Sorry, I agree. I mean, I'm not really that fussed about new stuff coming in. I just like to see what's there, stable, functioning, and I don't mind how long it takes. In my eyes, it should be in beta right now, and it should have stayed there until it was done.
Yeah. Yeah, I think everybody's really in that same kind of mindset, to be honest, at the moment. But then again, that's all down to COVID development, I think. Shan.
On that subject, I was going to bring it up. Actually, no, I'll bring it up in the main topic. It's all right. I'll leave the listeners in suspense until the main topic.
Right. Okay then. Right. Well, we'll quickly move on to the in-game events that have been happening this week. Well, something interesting happened because more federal systems have decided to break away. So that is a community goal happening at the moment. It's pretty close. I do believe at the moment, though, the federal forces are losing by a score of 3-1, which is quite a shocker. Shan.
Has anyone given this story a name yet?
This story, what, the Federal Rebellion?
Yes, I mean, sort of like Fedzit or something like that. Fedzit.
No, I don't think they've given it a special name yet. Although, if you want to take that that moniker, Fexit, then feel free.
Now it's Federexit.
Federexit.
That's the one.
That sounds like a cosmetic.
Actually,
I
sounds more like
mean-
a suppository.
I don't know, Colin. I haven't got experience in suppositories.
Yeah. So.
Or are you talking about alpacas again?
What? Why?
No one
What
was
is?
talking about alpacas.
I don't know. You see, this is what Shan's doing. He's actually really interested in the alpaca, but he's really embarrassed about admitting it. So he's trying to displace this on me for some reason, and I think it is just he's projecting.
I've
He's
never even
project- you are
seen
pro-
a real. I've never
you are
even seen a
projecting.
real alpaca, unlike you, Colin, who have petted them by your own admission.
Yeah, of course I have. But this is the thing: is you seem to have been obsessed by alpacas, and you're projecting that alpaca love that you have onto me for some reason. And to tell you the truth, Shan, I'm a bit worried about you.
You should be more worried about Ben, who's doing a training course for manscaping. But anyway,
You know what? I have avoided all that kind of conversation at the moment, thinking, yeah, I'm just going to leave that there, and I'm not going to go into it at all. I'll leave that. I'll leave to the. I'll leave you to your shearing. Yeah, shearing in various kinds of ways. In other news, on the 6th of August, the Thargoid nutjob cultists have prepared for their religious voyages. Apparently, they've managed to get together 3 megaships. One megaship will be constantly touring the bubble, trying to recruit new members, while the other 2 are heading out into the unknown, and will probably start another war.
another war. I didn't think the existing one had ended.
Okay, another phase of this war. So is that more satisfactory for you? Also, on the 9th, the Marlinist tensions seem to have inflamed. The bombing of the 2 Marlinist starports by the NMLA has caused political rifts and public protests across the colony systems. Again, this Marlinist issue seems to be imploding in on itself, no pun intended. And then finally, a little bit of an odd one, is that Zima Torval has created a new corporation. For those of you who don't know who she is, she's one of the power play powers, and it does seem that she has decided to spin off her own megacorp, which is, yes, so that might cause a little bit more trouble in the Senate. So, bit of a quiet week, news week this time, I think. Although it does seem that when there is an opportunity to give the feds a bit of a kicking, everybody seems to join in at the moment.
That's just common. I mean, the Federation's been the kicking boy of Elite Dangerous since the inception, really, haven't they? Because if you remember what was the Civil War that happened? The war in Lou, wasn't it?
Oh
They
yeah, I remember that.
there as well, didn't they?
Yes, they certainly did get. It's weird that because normally, if it's a straightforward Empire versus Federation competition, either in combat or in trade, the Federation normally wins every time. But if it's just up against the Federation by itself versus an independent faction, the Federation seems to lose. It's like, yeah, we're going to be friends with you, but only if you're not up against the Empire. Anyway,
Psychic, sorry.
Yeah, there's more independence than anything else. So, like independent and empire will fight against the feds, mixed together. And independence will tend to, from my experience, independence will tend to side more on the Federation side of its Fed versus Empire. It all depends really about what's going on. I think people are a lot more interested in story and wholeheartedly, Karumba, shut your mouth, man, about the Corvette. You don't need to say stuff like that.
Crash.
I was just going to say, with all these fragmented independent colonies out there, it's starting to look worse than the Linux distro space, isn't it?
Ooh, we don't mention the L word here. Don't mention the L word to me. Yes. What's this, Psychic? You will only be accepting Alpaca and Shan fan fiction for next week?
Yep, 100%. Only Alpaca X Shan romance fic. We don't want to get dirty here, but romance fic between Shan and Alpacas. That's all I want for next week.
Okay, right. This is taking a very dark turn all of a sudden. So I think we'll make a run for the store alert, if you don't mind.
Store alert!
In the bi-weekly newsletter, here come paint jobs for your art. In the bi-weekly newsletter, here come paint jobs for your art.
A store alert, a store alert, a store alert, a store alert, a store alert. Which one will you buy? A store alert, 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 a store alert. Which one will you buy?
I cannot get enough of that song for some reason. Right, well, we've got 3 store alerts now. We've got 1 ship, 1 suit, and 1 gun. So we have the Raider Pitfall suit. We have the Adder Speedway paint job. Sorry, an Adder and Speedway. Really? And what looks like the Karma AR-50 Dracon. Which, yeah. So, who'd like to go first? Crash?
Oh, yes. Give me that gun paint job. I don't mind it on that one. I don't use the AR-50 very much, but if they make that for the C-44, yep.
Psychic?
I'm pretty sure there's a pink version. Or like a pinky purple version. I think I've seen it. I haven't bought it because I like the other skin a little bit better with all the graffiti on and the little pink star on it. Can't think why I'd prefer that.
Not at all. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the Adder. Oh, why?
It's there for the laugh, isn't it?
Is it just me, or when you're stuck in the Adder, do you feel claustrophobic? I don't. Maybe it's just me. I just feel really hemmed in by the Adder cockpit.
I get so many of them on a Friday. Just so many of them. I haven't actually noticed that I feel claustrophobic.
Ah, well, I feel it just doesn't have the visibility it needs. Anyway, And finally, the suit. What do people think of the suit? It just looks like I don't know, one of the troopers out of the old Blake 7 TV series, I think.
I
But
thought it looked like what's his Death Rider? You know, the guy whose head's on fire and drives a motorbike.
what do you mean, Ghost Rider?
Ghost Rider, that's him.
Yeah, the fantastic Nicolas Cage movies. Yes. Although apparently he's an agent of Shields as well, Ghost Rider.
He is. Yeah, he is.
Yeah, I have been reliably informed by my son, who's got into Agents of Shield all of a sudden for some reason. Anyway, so that seems. Sorry, the adder. I mean, I can understand something like an eagle or especially the Imperial Eagle having that. That'd look great. But the adder.
Since Frontier are now into lists, I wonder if they could give us a list of the most popular paint jobs they've sold.
Hey, that'd be an interesting one.
I think we should I think we should ask the community as what paint jobs we think is the most popular.
They should make it vote for it as well. Let us
Yeah.
choose. So I think that's half the problem is we don't get no choice over what's coming, and then we get options like that on the adder, which is more of a meme than something that people want.
Which paint job do you want to be the default on the adder? Is it the Speedway? Is it the Speedway? Or is it the Speedway?
At least in the hall, you get the 18 one. Psychic.
They've got the Speedway on quite a few. What was the ship that you were looking to have the Speedway on?
It was the Imperial Eagle. I know it's already
They've got one.
Yeah, I know. It's great.
And a Viper as well, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Viper. It works with the Viper. The Imperial Courier's probably got it.
It's got Cobra Mark 4's got it. The the Asp Scout has it.
Oh no!
I tell you what, they should put it on. They should have a Type 9 Speedway.
They need one. Nay, they do not.
Well, we know that would keep Scorpius happy. Isn't it? T9 Racing stripes.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do. So if anybody, if you ever catch up with Scob and he's doing T9 races, that's actually quite fun. Especially if you want me to see me bouncing off mountains again. Right, what we're going to do...
Sorry, Colin, I was going to suggest about the paint skins. I think they need to change the pricing for paint skins. I think they should change the price according to how much paint is actually used.
Right. So basically on a small ship it'd be very cheap, and for a large ship it'd be a lot more.
Yeah, exactly.
Fine. Unfortunately, I don't think we have any say over how the pricing is handled. Right. We're going to take a short break, and then we'll come back with our main discussion.
Have you been missold PPI? Python Protection Insurance was missold if you didn't want it, ask for it, or need it.
I was missold Python Protection Insurance and I got a claim worth 3,000 credits.
At Cowell & McGrath, we are ready to pursue claims for pilots who were sold PPI, even though they didn't have an escape pod.
When my partner's ship was destroyed, the insurance became invalid. I settled out of court for enough credits to restart my narcotics and weapons shipping business.
Millions have been missold Python Protection Insurance they can never claim, simply because they don't have an escape pod. Why should you pay for not reading the small print?
My husband was missold PPI. As a result of our claim, we now own Jupiter.
Cowell & McGrath, turning your carelessness into profitable lawsuits.
This is a public service announcement from the Fuel Rats. Please stop what you're doing and pay attention. If we can rescue you, We will, but you can help us help you by following these easy steps. 1. Fly 50 light seconds or so from the system's main star and drop out of Supercruise. 2. Note down the current system and the nearest stellar body. 3. If you're on emergency life support, log out immediately. 4. Go to fuelrats.org and click Get Help. 5. Stay calm, hold your breath, and let our seasoned professionals do what they do best. The Fuel Rats. We have fuel, you don't. Any questions?
I spend so much time in my Imperial Trader, I find it really hard to meet people.
I mean, when do you get the time to go to bars when you're taking on courier jobs for the military?
But with VenusDating.com, it was so simple. I just put in my personal details and they found me my perfect match.
I really thought it would be difficult, but Venus Dating made it so simple. With so much in common.
We both like movies, walking along the beach at sunset,
browsing Imperial shipyards.
And of course, since we started dating, we've discovered that we both really love shooting Thargoids. Let your voyage begin with VenusDating.com for every first.
You've flown ships at max speed. You've felt the power of the 30 megawatt mining laser. You've experienced the efficiency of the MB4 mining machine.
Wow.
But it leaves every hardcore miner with just one question.
Why can't I get a shave that's that fast, close and efficient?
Introducing the Saracen MB5 shaving drone.
It's so smooth.
Combining the power of a mining laser with the convenience of a drone.
It's like every hair is targeted by a fighter and destroyed.
Saracen's patented shaving drone attaches to your face at the start of the day. Leave it to do its work, and when you come back to check, your face is shaved.
He's so smooth.
It's like I'm mining my face.
The Saracen MB5 shaving drone.
Now I feel manly.
Saracen Shaving, making shaving an unnecessary adventure.
Are you thinking of suing over missold Python protection insurance? Had an accident in an airlock or slipped in a space station cargo bay and thinking of suing for compensation? Well, don't.
I tried to take my ship commander to court for making fertiliser out of my crewmates. Legal fees have left me with nothing, and now I'm hungry. All the time.
At Watton Brittany, we take small print very seriously. We have a massive team of lawyers just waiting to block your case and ramp up your legal costs.
I wanted a simple, no-win, no-fee arrangement. My case got blown out of the water by Watton Brittany, and now I have to rent out my arse for hydrogen fuel.
At Watton Brittany, we have a saying, if you don't want a beating, stay out of our court.
I was savaged by a wild creature whilst fixing a vending machine. Can't I claim compensation?
No, you can't, because we have a massive team of lawyers and you're just someone who works for a living. Watton Brittany. Don't even think about it.
And welcome back. Now we're going to take a little bit of a left turn with this discussion because obviously there's been a whole lot of crises hitting another MMO, World of Warcraft, for those of you who don't know, which has led to basically player numbers plummeting over there. Obviously for slightly different reasons, but we'll probably go into that. Now, I'm going to make the assumption that whatever the state of Odyssey is at the moment, still people still want Elite to continue. However, most of the detractors of Odyssey have said, right, I'm off to play No Man's Sky or Star Citizen, which of course has lowered player numbers in protest. However, the problem is with most live service games, as we've seen, if the numbers fall too much, the game does get pulled. So the question is, how do you protest about bad updates without your without losing your live service game? So this is quite a big subject, and I've got a sneaking suspicion that Shannon would like to go first.
I was actually going to offer it up to the audience, but okay. One of the things I think is pertinent to this is, and I'll get the drinking in early, is that for the last 2 years, ArenaNet have been pushing the expansion to Guild Wars 2. And it is ArenaNet only game, so they're not like Frontier that has, the Planet whatever or Jurassic. It is their only game. So for 2 years they've been pushing the next expansion will be the fall or winter of 2021. Fall winter 2021 for the last 2 years. And last week they announced that due to COVID and quality issues, the game will be delayed until February 2022. And the resounding response from the community over this news was, "Oh, thank goodness you told us. We'd rather wait than have something bad and buggy and broken to have it, and don't worry about it. Just get it right, and we'll enjoy it in February." The investors have and the shareholders have said, "Well, yes, obviously, we would have liked the revenue, but the reputational damage will cause us to lose more money than the delay. So go ahead and do it." So,
Okay.
so I thought I'd offer that as a sort of a parallel to how other companies have done it. Now, in terms of how do you protest about a bad update, well, probably the only way you can do it is, for better or worse, via the forum, via um, communicating in the community, and also probably making a point of not buying that company's other products. So, say for example, for me personally, I was dead set on the F1 game and whatever. I was going to go and get that, but because of what Frontier did, I am not going to now buy that game. So I'm not actually affecting Elite income. I'm affecting the income of their subsequent products because of the way in which Odyssey was released and developed, etc. So that's just basically how I do this. I'm not directly hitting the game itself, and obviously I'm quite a vocal critic about certain things, but I'm just not going to buy any more Frontier products.
Fair enough. Psychic.
That's fair. That's a completely fair way to go about it. For me, the comparison between Frontier and Activision Blizzard is incredibly thin, because there is a hell of a lot more of stuff that's going on as far as Activision Blizzard that is concerned, that is hampering WoW, Warzone, etc., etc., etc. That that would justify more people leaving. Also, WoW is looking at WoW specifically, as Bitstorm quite clearly said. WoW is a subscription-based model, so the easiest way to complain about something like World of Warcraft is just stop paying for your subscription. I know it's addicting for some, and people just if you're that upset with everything that's going on, you have to walk away. And yes. I think with Elite, if you are that upset with what's going on, you absolutely should still walk away. That being said, a smaller protest would be not buying ARCs, for example. And cosmetics is a huge factor in the profit of a game like Elite Dangerous, which is why they still, even with the game, I don't want to say in the state that it is, but even with the game, with the faults and the error log that they have,
yeah,
if you still want to play the game, absolutely do. If you're upset with the state of the game to the effect that you want to make some kind of monetary protest, don't buy ARCs. And if you didn't buy ARCs before, complain on the forums, but be nice.
Yes, that's a very, very good point. Crash.
Oh man, what do I unpack first? Oh wow. There's a lot. There's a lot. But yeah, I don't know whether trying to punish them that way makes so much of a difference. I think it's the reputational damage which they're going to feel the most rather than the financial penalties, because they're going to lose sales anyway based on the fact that people don't trust them. So I don't know whether just refusing to buy their products is going to make that much of a big difference. If you don't want to buy, you vote with your feet. That's fine. But I think trying to penalize them that way, I don't think it solves any problem. Um, I don't see an easy way you can protest that something isn't as you'd expect. This is the problem, not just with Frontier and Elite. It's all live service games have that issue. They are effectively an ongoing service rather than a product you buy, but people still expect them to work and operate like a single product. You pay one monetary transaction for, you own that product, and it stays that way forever. That's just simply not the case with Elite. It doesn't work like that, and that's kind of the problem we've got here. And I've actually, I feel I feel the same, because I was enjoying Update 4. Everything was fine. Update 5 and 6 have been atrocious for me. And I can't go back to Update 4. I would love to stay on Update 4 because that was working great and I was happy with it. But I don't have that choice. It's a live product. I have to go with what's there. And if it doesn't work for me, then I just have to step away and stop playing it, wait for them to fix it. That's all I can do.
Yeah, I mean the worst case scenario of this, just to take it all to an extreme, is when you actually go back to Star Wars Galaxies and the NGE update. Just to bring people up to speed on what that happens, and this happened 10 years ago. Yeah, the what happened was that because World of Warcraft had launched and a lot of people going over to World of Warcraft, the people in Star Wars went, "This is um, uh, this is the basically." Oh, hang on, I've lost my train of thought there. What happened with Star Wars Galaxies is basically a lot of players went over to World of Warcraft. A lot of people at Sony panicked and said, "Right, we need to rejig our game to try and get these people back." But instead of rejigging it, they basically rewrote it, and that everything that everybody found good about Star Wars Galaxies had gone. And they lost sort of like 90% of the player base, and basically because it crashed so hard, it started them off writing a new Star Wars game in the background. But the problem is that Star Wars Galaxy started to get better again, and just as it was getting back to as good as it was before, they cancelled it. So yeah, that it can go too bad. Crash.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the point I was trying to find a way of expressing with the WoW thing. I mean, I'm still playing WoW. I just did the SOD raid this weekend, actually. Thank you. And I'm still having great fun with it. It's there's still parts of the game which are enjoyable. Yeah, there are a lot of problems with it, a lot of issues with things that people are not happy with and stuff, and player numbers are reducing and everything. But at the end of the day, if you enjoy it as an individual, then why shouldn't you still pay for that thing and enjoy it? I don't think taking the money away is going to have an impact. I think it would probably make situations worse with like how they've been treating their the development staff, and not paying them particularly well. For an example, taking that money away from that game is just going to make the situation worse for those people. So why would you do that? I don't think that kind of protesting that way is going to make a big difference.
Shan.
I was going to ask a devil's advocate question, just to sort of throw my thoughts open for a minute. Do we really? I mean, you said you've made the assumption, Colin, that we still want Elite to continue,
Yeah.
and of course we kind of do. But my general question is: at what point does the behaviour of a company become a matter of principle rather than a matter about the game? And the reason why I'm asking this is we've had things like Project Red and Cyberpunk. We've had Blizzard stuff. I won't go into details about that because I said you can Google it. So we've had example after example of companies acting, shall we say, poorly,
Mm-hmm.
and there needs to be a consequence for that sort of behaviour. Otherwise, that behaviour will, across the games industry, continue. So is there not this wider issue we should be thinking about? Is if you let them get away with it, other people are just going to go and do it.
Well, I'm just going to jump in here. I mean, the prime example where the community pushed back and won was Star Wars Battlefront 2, because they tried to put in the FIFA pay to win stuff that they've got, and thankfully the Star Wars community pushed back, and it got so worrying even the people at Disney were calling up EA and saying, hang on, what have you done? I mean, that is one example where it did work. Crash?
Sorry, I've lost my train of thought from what I was going to say to it. Apologies.
Okay, we'll go on to Psychic and come back to you.
Oh no, please don't do that. The exact same thing had happened. What's going on?
A cyclical. I got too close to a black hole, and my thought process went in.
The only thing that literally went through my head was you can't equivalent what's going on with Frontier to Blizzard. There are a lot of Frontier employees that I have spoken to, and they are enjoying their work. When you see stuff like with Project Red and the shit that came out about those let's say Project Red and Activision Blizzard as prime examples, specifically what's going on. I mean, we wouldn't have no. Words are failing me right now.
Yeah. Maybe. I mean, what were the pushback against Odyssey? I'm just going to clarify this. The pushback against Odyssey, is nowhere near as bad as what's been happening to World of Warcraft, and by that I mean the reasons for the pushback are completely different. And yeah, as Shan says, it's more like it's a moral standpoint that that's been taken up, which in my opinion is a quite right moral standpoint, but we're not going to go into that with too much detail. Psychic, do you want to come back in, or have I got the wrong dots? I've got the wrong dots.
Yeah, I was going to. Sorry, Colin. I mean, I was going to mention the question again in case it bores or triggers people. Is we talked about what can we do if a gaming product is bad? How do you protest the fact it's bad without affecting the game? And I would mention the thing. I don't think you can, other than by affecting the revenue and the reputation of the company, and therefore hurting the game you want to support. I just don't think there's a way of doing it. I mean, there was a presentation given by David Braben to the investors earlier on in the year, and it came up with the mission statement, which was to be the most respected games publishing company in the industry.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, you kind of blown that one, mate, haven't you? You know, and that's how you that's if you want to push back, I'm not saying you act in a slanderous or libelous or disrespectful way, but the only way we can do that is by not buying their stuff and politely and constructively telling them why. Because this is endemic to the industry. It's not just Frontier. Pretty much every company I can think of has pulled it's ready, don't worry, we'll patch it on zero. You know, this kind of lackadaisical way of releasing, verging on dishonest. And with the examples that we've been talking about, I just think we just need to say, no, we're not going to accept this sort of behavior as customers anymore, because otherwise it will just continue. Whether it's a Frontier or Project Red or whoever, it'll just carry on if we just let it.
Crash.
Yeah, I think the only thing you can really do is don't pre-order. I think it's different for Shan and I and a lot of the community that have been here for the very beginning. You know, we got the lifetime pass, so we haven't paid anything into the game. But I think you know, it's purposely not buying things that you would. But like Shan, you gave the example of the F1 game. I think you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. I mean, that's going to be a different different team, different development cycle. It could be a very good game. I don't think you're going to be sending a message, the right kind of message to Frontier by doing that.
Well, it will be, because hopefully they listen to the show and they'll know why they haven't bought a copy.
by proxy. But
Nobody
I mean,
listens to this show, Sham. What are you talking about?
Hey, we are the #1 podcast, gaming podcast
exactly
in Turkey. You should listen to the stats, and in Albania as well,
and New Zealand,
New Zealand.
And that's only because Flight Assist is on a break at the moment. I'll let you know.
Well, I was going to say the reason why we're #1 in New Zealand is they've been locked up for 2 years and run out of things to do. But
yes. Well, yeah, it is a very, very difficult question to answer, because it does feel like they've got you over a barrel, and basically it's like if your football team is doing very, very badly, but you still want to support the team. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Crash.
Yeah, and this is what I mean by being like a live service game. It's not a product that we're used to anymore. And a lot of games are going this way. I mean, this is the way of the world now. Everything's on the internet. Everything can be updated post-release. It's not like the good old days. If it's not correct at that time when it's put onto cassette. Yes, I'm that old. It's it's done and dusted. That's it. Everything can be updated and changed, but at the same time, that there's a detriment to that things can be changed for the worse as well. Things can be updated and broken, and this is the way of the world as it is now, and we've either got to accept that, or just like I said, stop pre-ordering, stop buying games until you're happy and you're satisfied that you can trust the people that are making that product, instead of just buying something on reputation alone.
I would add early access to that as well. I hate early access stuff.
Early access is a bane. I hate it. I should really stop buying things, because I buy them, I play them a little bit, and I'm put off, and then by the time it's finally released, I just haven't got the energy to go back to it.
Yeah, I think that is a pretty straightforward recommendation there. I mean, personally, until I think I'm holding off buying ARCs until I think that the game is in a state where it's worth me putting in stuff that I want. I mean, there has been outfits and things that I thought, oh, that wouldn't be too bad, but I just feel it's a little bit, yeah, Shan.
So what if they brought out a paint job? I don't know, maybe the Golden Adder racing paint job.
Golden Adder.
That you really, really, really wanted. Would your will survive wanting the Golden Adder racing paint job?
You know what, Jan? I think it will, because I think there has been a couple of paint jobs I thought, I wouldn't mind that one, and then I just thought, it's that one. The alpaca pack, you mean? Alpaca decals. Is this where we're going, guys?
I had to.
A pack of alpaca decals. Go on. Yes. I've managed to resist so far, because at the moment I don't feel, even I did pre-order Odyssey and Horizons. I didn't just get it for my lifetime pack as well, but at the moment it's Chan.
So how is refusing to buy ARCs not the same as refusing to buy any of Frontier's products?
Well, I've still updated the Psykit. Sorry, can we go back to Psykit?
No, don't be
I
silly.
missed
It's
that.
fine. It's fine. I was being facetious. I bought ARCs the other day. I'm now a salmon cowboy. That was all I had to add to it.
A salmon cowboy?
There's a salmon cowboy skin for your commander. I'm a salmon cowboy and I look fantastic.
Did you know in Peru, where the alpacas from, they are the
God!
natural predator of salmon?
See, this is Shan and his alpaca enthusiasm here. I didn't bring this up. Everyone else has been bringing up the alpacas.
Anyway, Crash, sorry, you bring us back on track, please.
Yeah, I was going to say, to your point there, it's like it is no different. I mean, I wouldn't withhold getting arcs for the sake of protest either. I don't think it's sending the right message. I mean, statistically, to Frontier, that says, oh, nobody liked that skin this week. That's all it tells them. It doesn't tell them, hey, I'm incredibly pissed off with the state of your game. I don't think it registers on the radar with them. And this is the problem. We've bought the game. We own the game. There's nothing we can do financially to protest the fact that we're not enjoying it and we're not happy with it. The only thing we can do is just stop playing. That's the only thing we can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask Crash then. So if we say then, okay, not buying their stuff, they don't equate the loss of income with Odyssey or whatever game it is, then the other option we have is just stop playing. You know, the "Can I has your stuff" meme. But again, how do they link falling player numbers with an expansion or with whatever? Because we know, I mean, even for Steam charts, as unreliable as they are, we know the player numbers have taken a significant drop.
Oh, massive. I think it's somewhere like 30% of pre-Odyssey numbers, which is pretty clear that.
So how do they know for sure that's because of Odyssey and not because of insert new game here?
And you don't, and that's the problem. There is no direct correlation with that. You can only infer it from the statistical information you've got. From an executive point of view, you can just look at the numbers, look at the trends on those graphs, and just kind of say, at that point in time, it started to have a decline. What was a significant event around that? Perhaps that's it. That's all you can really do. There is no direct number that they can pull up, and there is no system they can call upon and query, player enjoyment factors from a database. They can't do that. They have to infer it. I mean, in this case, it's pretty bloody obvious when you look at the release date of things. There was a huge incline of player numbers as alpha was warming up and the hype was building and stuff like that. But then when it hit and people realized the truth that the game wasn't getting significantly better based on the promises that were given, people voted with their feet.
Yeah, and that brings us on to the second question. I mean, what happens if the developer doesn't take notice of the players' concerns, stroke anger, stroke prams out of the toys out of the pram? Crash.
Unfortunately, the inevitable, the game dies. And we've seen so many examples of this. And I mean, I don't want it to happen. Many of us here don't want it to happen. But it is the unfortunate nature of these things. If the developers are not able to make that inference, make that correlation with the actions that they're performing versus the player engagement and the numbers that they're seeing on there, then unfortunately it will continue to spiral out of control. And I don't know how you solve that problem now that they've got themselves into this kind of reputational decline. How do you build that trust back up? That's something which is far more damaging and difficult to solve than financial problems.
John?
I agree with what Crash said. I mean, there was a point when Odyssey first went out, and we spoke about it at length on a couple of shows of how we felt Frontier could kind of get back, the trust and whatever of the player base. Now, the things like the issue tracker, that's a start, but being fair, I think they are beyond that point for this game. Sadly, this is me personally. Is I just think, and the only thing they could possibly do, I think, would be to say, right, we'll continue with Odyssey as it is, but there'll be an Odyssey version 2 in which we will listen to you, we'll have ship interiors, we'll have blah, 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 and it will come out in then. The only way they can do it is to get rid of the sunk cost fallacy that is Odyssey at the moment and ditch it, I think. I hate to say it, and but I really can't think of a different way they could possibly get it back.
Okay, and Psychic.
I don't think they should wipe everything and then start afresh. Is that what you're suggesting, Shan?
No, because basically, well, it's Crash Point Chat pulling No Man's Sky. So No Man's Sky didn't stop working, didn't stop being operational. They just went away and they redid a whole ton of stuff for No Man's Sky and
Yeah.
relaunched it. So that's about the only thing I think they could pull them out of the spiral, being able to do that.
Actually, can I just stop you there about the No Man's Sky thing? Because No Man's Sky did exactly the opposite of what Frontier have done. No Man's Sky went completely dark for 6 months to almost a year, and they didn't have any communication with the community. They just hoovered up what people were complaining about, took the hit, and then basically put everything out. Now, the difference with that is that you can actually play No Man's Sky without any online servers. You can't play Elite Dangerous without the back end servers. Psych it. Sorry,
Bear
if I've taken the
with.
wind.
Bear with. So I think what they've done so far, personally for me, is a really good step in the right direction. There's a lot of open communication that's going on. They're showing us the things that they're working on. As I said earlier, I at the moment I would much prefer the focus to be on the game and on improving the game rather than or making it good for console release specifically, rather than bringing finding out anything new that's coming. I wouldn't want to lose the information that we're getting. So at the moment, no, however minimal people believe that is, when you compare it to the radio silence that we got from places like from No Man's Sky, making that direct comparison, I would much prefer to see this communication and see what they are working on and see where loads of people have voted up particular issues, etc., etc., etc.
Shan, did you just put dots in the Twitch chat?
I did, yeah. I'm not equating shutting down communications with what No Man's Sky did. I think I've forgotten who it was in chat now. Little Bigian mentioned about online Final Fantasy. That got slated at launch. That was a terrible game at launch.
Yeah,
And
Final Fantasy 14.
And didn't they even stop selling it at some point?
Stopped selling it, took it away, rewrote the whole thing.
And now it's the number one MMO.
Yes.
So that is how you get out of it. It takes an awful lot of in-quotes balls to do that. But sometimes it's the only way to deal with sunk cost fallacy. Now, how have Frontier got to that point yet? I don't know. As Psychic just said, you know, they're pulling up, but are they pulling up a little bit and the plane is gaining altitude, but it still doesn't matter what they do, it's going to crash? I don't know, but I guess the question, I guess the question is do we feel as though Frontier are actually taking notice of what gameplay needs to be improved, or are they just looking at bug lists? Because there's a key difference.
Well, they highlighted the bugs today, but they did emphasize that this isn't the only thing that's happening. There are other things happening, but they didn't go into detail with that. Crash.
Pulling up but heading towards a mounting rapid. I think that's to follow on with the analogy. But yeah, it's a big challenge. I mean, if I was steering that ship, I would say we're going back to beta. You know, I would take it off. I would take that big move because everyone in the community admits that, and Frontier kind of low key admitting it themselves by pushing back the console release. And I think that's the big sort of move they need to do to say, hey, sorry guys, we know we screwed this up. We're gonna take it off general release. We're gonna put it back to beta. We're gonna continue working on it, get it to a state where it's stable and it's functional. And the other thing that Shan was saying there, I mean, like they're hitting off the big wins, the things which are like make it look good, make it play well, but not really addressing the, well, is it fun? Is it good? Do people enjoy it?
Yeah. Okay, Shan, you have the final word on this, unless someone else wants to.
No, I was enjoying myself. So I guess the question is to you, Crash, is do we feel as though Frontier A should or would have that admission? Look, we're sorry. We're sorry. The A version 1 of Odyssey wasn't to your expectations, etc., etc. We're going to put it back to beta. We're going to rewrite it and then launch it in a couple of years' time. Do you think that's a message they would ever say, and do you think they should say that, or do you think they'll just bimble along, fix a few things, and hope it goes away?
The latter.
Well, can I just pop in there? If they say that, the game's over. There won't be Elite Dangerous in 2 years. People will not wait around.
Yeah,
I don't think.
I said 2 years as a number off the top of my head. It wasn't.
No, but I actually agree with you. If you want to rewrite Odyssey, it is going to be another 2 years. And if you want to put in stuff that wasn't never in Odyssey, such as ship interiors, that all of a sudden people wanted in Odyssey, well, you're looking at a timescale even longer.
I wouldn't say all of a sudden, Colin. That's a bit naughty to say all of a sudden.
Well, no, because everyone sort of went on about ship interiors, and ship interiors, in my opinion, was never part of Odyssey. The only thing that they made a promise, well, a promise, they said that there was an intention to do ship interiors way back in the Kickstarter, but then they said that, we're not sure about whether ship interiors would make it into this one. And after looking into it, they decided against it. But it is the ship interiors thing is it. I wish they had been clearer about that right at the very beginning, especially with the ship interiors and with the VR. I wish they'd turned around and said, no, it's not in, instead of it's not in at launch. Because that would have saved a whole lot of trouble. Just like when they had the offline mode, if they'd come clean and said, we're having trouble with offline mode, a lot earlier than they did, say the month before the thing was supposed to go live, I think they wouldn't be dealing with half the crap that they're dealing with now. Crash.
Yeah, I think you touched on a key point there. Is again, it's that trust issue. They've optimistically made claims about things several times during the development of the game, not just recently, but all the way back to the very beginning. And come unstuck when it comes to the point of trying to implement it and get it in, and then just kind of low key tried to brush it under the carpet. But you can't do that when you're running a live service game, which is in the public eye. Your mistakes are going to be up there in lights, so they shouldn't be promising things to build up that hype only to pull the rug out from people, because that's worse than just
Oh, I
saying
think you
do it.
can. I think you can if the messaging and the timing's right. Because let's face it, most people who play Elite are in quote grown ups. They're not like 14-year-old kids so much. They're not that kind of age demographic. Most, pretty much everyone here is grown up. So if someone said, look guys, we tried to do ship interiors, we tried to get it working, and it just wasn't working with the engine we've got. We've spent enough time and money on it, it's just not going to work. Really sorry, guys. And if they say that early enough, people go, oh, that's a shame, but hey, thanks for telling us. At least we know. It's way better to say that at a certain point than it is to keep hope alive and then say, actually, guys, we gave up on that ages ago.
Yeah, no, and I absolutely agree, and I think this is a testament to the fact that they've grown from an indie to a larger company now, and you have that is very much a symptom of internal communication problems, where you have a marketing team which is trying their utmost to upsell the game, make it sound like it's the biggest, best thing ever, and put in the communication out there to build hype up and stuff, but are not actually internally communicating with the developers who are working on it and saying, hey, you guys getting on with this? Do you think this is going to be feasible? And if they did that early enough on and actually were realistic about it, the guys in the development team would say, hey, look, we prototyped it out. It didn't work very well. We're not going to go forward with it. And if they did that early enough, these outward communication failures wouldn't become so apparent.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, Crash, they, as you know, when Game Tech released First Encounters, Frontier sued them because they'd released the product early, and whatever. So they kind of learnt the lesson, but they've forgotten about it, which seems to be.
I think the whole issue about Odyssey is that it has been developed under COVID conditions. I don't think we'd be in this state if it wasn't for the fact we're dealing with the COVID crisis at
See,
the same time.
I personally don't buy that, Colin, because there's a ton of people who listen to this and so on my own life who've managed to develop stuff perfectly well.
And
yes, they've had it in
from
COVID,
my
but also what you need to remember is that during the alpha period, people were telling Frontier, "This isn't ready for release. This isn't ready for release. This is broken. I'm getting bad performance." All the issues that we've seen, people have reported via the forum. So you would think, doesn't matter COVID or not, that decision to say yes, go, is not a COVID decision. It is a does our playtesting, do our users think this is a product ready for release? And they had to have known the answer to that was no, but they did it anyway.
Right. Okay. Well, we're going to move on from this now. I think we've certainly done that one a decent justice. Do you think? Yeah. No. Right. Fine. Moving on. Mostly clueless. This is our new section for the new player, where experienced pilots pass on their knowledge to the newbies. And this week's mostly clueless clue comes from the Manure Man. I have never heard of this guy before, but obviously he put this suggestion. You don't need to board the ship with the SRV to transfer inventory. You just need to stand in the boarding spot, go to the right side menu, and on the inventory panel, there is an option to transfer, and you can manage all your inventory between the ship and the SRV on the fly. So, there we go.
Just like Neil Armstrong did.
Right, Si, I do believe there is a load of haikus that have come our way.
Right, first and foremost,
yes,
a lot of these aren't haikus. However, oh my god, there's so many of them.
Yeah, they're all done by LCU, aren't they?
And Ben's done a couple.
Should we do the alert?
There's nothing actually there, to be honest. Just reviewing it. Normally we would avert you that it might be a bit smutty, this, but just looking through it, I'm afraid to say it.
And I want to save the proper smut that I have for when Ben's actually here.
Yeah, I think there's one I'll highlight the one we should avoid, and apart from that, it should be fine. But if you'd like to,
Yeah, sure, why not? Why not? There once was a man, but wasn't in this haiku, not a limerick. Okay. Lave
this
and
is going to be
Brandy
painful.
gets Ben drunk and quite handsy. Don't let him have it. Radio, Lave's favourite station. Nonsense words. Like none of these.
No, I mean, what is it? 575 or something?
575. Yeah, that's what it should be. However, if you look up a haiku, they don't necessarily have to be 575. It is sort of generalized within sort of more like English languages that they have to be 575 just for ease. But even then.
And also, if we disqualified things for not being a haiku, we wouldn't have anything to read out. So
I mean, there were a couple that worked, and I've got my paragraph of smut. We could have used that. And next week, not only will we have smut, but we'll have Shan Alpaca fiction, and it'll be a beautiful moment. If I don't get any, I'll write some.
Oh God!
I don't have time to write some. It's a busy week.
You see, Shan, you brought this on yourself.
Gibberish on the radio Tuesday nights. That fits.
True, yeah.
Limerick. This is a haiku. No more smut. Lavian girl keeps slaving leather. Her pleasure.
Right.
Scientist tool, if used to excess, makes him blind. Keeping Psy happy bunny girl, wise it is. That is a Yoda quote. Thanks, Ben.
So yeah, we need that done in a Yoda impersonation, don't we?
Do it again. Do it in a Yoda impersonation, then, Colin.
I don't do accents.
Oh no, I can't do a decent Yoda. No, I can't. You know what? I'll try and do a recording of it for next week.
Absolutely. That can be the theme. Keeping Psy happy bunny girl, wise it is. Jesus. Beyond Dockers, it has its knockers. Some cocks too.
That was the one that actually caught off. Never mind.
Raining cats and dogs, a good British summer makes. What do you expect?
I'm sorry, has Ben decided to channel Yoda? Because that is exactly the same. Raining cats and dogs it is. Dear. Anyway, I think after that moment of culture, and by that I mean yogurt.
I so regret asking for haikus. That was a bad choice on my part. My apologies.
Yeah, that was. Oh, I see. Katiana is already writing the Shan alpaca fan fiction.
Perfect. The get on it, Kate.
So what's the what would you prefer then? Sorry, would you prefer a limerick or a haiku?
A smut.
She just wants smut.
Give me some prose, man.
Okay, well, so we are now actually putting out another call for, as I would say it, smut. It's just, it's just all of us. And there was me thinking, we'll get Sion. It'll be nice to have a female voice. She'll keep the boys in line. No.
You guys are just a really bad influence on me. What can I say?
Oh, are we?
Absolutely,
now?
absolutely. It's that way for sure.
We'll have to ask Little Bigyan. Anyway, community news. What has been up to in the community? Well, you might have spotted Alex has managed to get his Guardian balls out, and so much so that Ghost Giraffe and Mass did a full game of Guardian Ball. Which we'll put a link into the show notes about where you can see this. I think they did choose the wrong place to do it because it was right next to one of those ports, one of the planet-side ports, which caused the frame rate to absolutely tank, which caused a problem. But yeah, it does seem to be quite fun. Now, Psychic, you've got something to announce, haven't you?
We've got a race. There's a race going on. It's a very old school buckyball style race. We sat and we decided we wanted to do some kind of event in Elite, set up a community event. It just so happens it's my streamiversary on Thursday from when I came back when my back was all broken.
Ooh.
So we are starting on Thursday, running through to a week on Sunday afterwards. There is a 10-day time trial thing that is on. It's all on the forums under the community events in the forums. It is a time trial. It is effectively picking up 4 tons of booze from different places and then dropping it over on Glass Landing. It's called Fill the Glass. Glass Landing, which is the home of my faction. And yeah, there might be a prize for the winner.
Might be a prize. Oh, it'd be nice if it was.
There might be a prize.
So what's the record? Sorry, at the moment.
Don't know yet. Doesn't start until Thursday.
Oh, so you haven't actually done a test run then
I haven't done a test run. I've got my ships ready to do a run. I know somebody mentioned in our Discord that they had managed to get a run sub 25 minutes. So you've got half an hour spare and a relatively fast ship. There are two classes. There is a regulation hauler and a any engineered whatever class as well. It's
there's a regulated hauler.
a
Right,
regulation hauler class. So it's sub 500,000. I want to say sub 500,000 credits ship that you can buy without any engineering, and you can fly around and do it using that. Or
That's for me.
Yeah. Or you can engineer a ship fully and bust your engineering chops and do a super speedy ship.
Excellent.
I just thought of another game we need to try.
Uh-huh.
You know how we will be able to redirect Apex shuttles?
Yes.
You can have an Apex shuttle race, and you from one system to another via other systems, and you would then have to choose when to divert your Apex to make the race.
Interesting. Personally, I don't think I'd want to be stuck in the shuttle for all that time, that length of time.
Well, I'm not expecting you to go to Colonia and back in the Apex.
No, you won't be able to do that. Someone actually asked on the stream whether or not they'd be able to do that, and no, it wasn't going to be allowed. Anyway, Beetlejude, her of the artistic bent, has done some more artwork, and we're going to put a link into her latest painting, because she does the real-time recordings of her actually creating the artwork. So we're going to put the latest one in as a link into the show notes. Yes, my expedition to Colonia is still continuing on my Twitch stream. Had a bit of a slight bump. Almost lost my ship again. Don't want to do that. But I have now safely made it to point 3 of the 8 or 9 stations it takes to get to Colonia. So I've made a third of the way, and that's further than the last time I tried.
Which system are you in, Colin?
Which one is it? It's the... I can't
And
remember.
do you play an open?
Oh, of course I play an open, but yes, shouldn't actually have mentioned that in front of you, Shan, to be honest. Anyway, on the subject of exploration, the best guide I've found for those wanting to go searching for life is actually created by Commander Sheeny on the forums. You'll find it under the title Odyssey Biological and Geological Guide, and basically gives you a full beginner's guide and breakdown how to do exploration, Odyssey exploration properly. And for anybody who's wanting to start off, that's exactly the point where you should start. So I'll just highlight that one. Unfortunately, Alex never got back to us to tell us how he managed to get his Guardian balls into the planetary ports. So we're going to have to wait until that one next week, aren't we? So has anybody got any other business that they'd like to quickly bring up?
Just wishing Ben well in his course he's doing this week.
You know what? I'm still not going to ask. Right. Well, in that case, I will finish off the show with the usual shout-outs. So first of all, our sister station, Hutton Orbital Radio, it broadcasts on a Thursday at 8:30 in the evening, which is 8:30 BST at the moment, but will be GMT sooner or later. You can tune in at twitch.tv/Hutton Orbital Truckers, or just the audio can be found at radioforthemug.com. For the discerning commander that likes a bit of CQC action, check out CQC Discord at discord.me/Elite Dangerous CQC. which is all one word and difficult to say in all one breath. We also give shout outs to the following Elite Dangerous podcasts, which have appeared over the last year or so. That was Alagrabe M, Black Sky Legion, the Canon podcast. There's the Elite Cast, the Fatherhood podcast, Flight Assist, the Guard Frequency, Loose Screw, Squeaking Fuel, and System Chat. For those of you who want a literary discussion about sci-fi and fantasy, please subscribe to the Data Slate podcast created by Alan Stroud. After this, we have the latest Galnet News Digest, that's provided by Commander Witherspoon and Commander Beetlejude. And we'd just like to thank everybody who has chipped in on the Twitch chat. And Chris, have you had many in-game commanders buzz you?
We have had Commander Miggles, as always, at Lave Station, and there was one other commander who I didn't quite get the name of earlier on, so apologies, but they were also hanging around in Lave.
Oh, excellent. Nice to know that you had company. Right, we'll round off by saying a special thanks to Commander Tokuso, who has created the music for the introduction of the show. But that is it for another episode of Lave Radio. If you'd like to get in touch with the show, you can email info@laveradio.com, hit us up at facebook.com/laveradio, tweet us at laveradio. You can join our Discord server by going to discord.io/laveradio, and also we have a TeamSpeak server where commanders like to hang out and chat, and you can find that at teamspeak.laveradio.com. Do get in touch if you have any questions or if there's anything you'd like us to discuss in a future episode. Lave Radio is recorded live on a Tuesday evening at 8:30 British summertime and streamed out at laveradio.com/live. So thanks to Crash, thanks to Shan, and thanks to Psychit. And special thanks, of course, goes to today's tech specialist, the Chris Mark IV. So until next time, commanders, fly safe. And if you can't do that, fly dangerous.
Is your life like this?
Sounds like someone having an orange inserted into them. You need a safe word. Space can be lonely.
I'm gonna see the galaxy.
Ah, damn it. No worries, guys. Hold the fort for 2 seconds. I'll be right back.
Galnet News Digest, 9th of August 3307. We read the news, so you don't have to.
In this week's news, Hudson set to lose second secession war.
Thargoid stations repaired as Marlinists struggle.
No Megagin required. The Federation looks set to lose the secession war in Coembar 3-0, with the newly independent New Coembar Labour faction of Gagnan Port trouncing the Federation's puppets Lee Chotep for equality at the so-called Fortress Liberty. In all likelihood, not only will all the factions that have already left the Federation, including The coalition of Uteran and Gluscap Labour remain independent, but 3 further factions, Selkana Labour, the United Hip 108095 Values Party and Mutumu Future will also declare their independence and take 28 systems out of the Federation. The reason they give for leaving the Federation is to avoid the draconian surveillance laws. But there are other benefits to leaving the Federation. There's at least a reasonable chance that some of these systems will gain useful facilities like black markets and interstellar factors, and that the fashionable new drug onion head gamma strain will become legal. Not to mention imperial slaves. What better way to take the drudgery out of housework than your very own indentured labour?
Operation Ida's starport Kipling Orbital has now been fully repaired and is only awaiting the structural engineer's report on Thursday morning before it can remove the scaffolding and reopen all its services. Kipling is the last of the Thargoid damaged stations, and with no recent reports of Thargoid activity, the repair effort can start winding down. It's not going quite so well in the NMLA-damaged Marlinist starports. Tillman Point is still being evacuated nearly 2 weeks after the attack, and Stillman Hub has been making slow but steady progress in its repairs, and is now roughly 1/4 repaired. With the Marlinist Parliament in chaos and the real possibility of civil war in the Marlinist colonies, it's possible that the starport repairs will not be complete by the time the Marlinist society disintegrates completely. Marlinism, the campaign to make the Empire back into a republic, looks like it might fade away far sooner than anyone had expected.
A brand new time trial race is about to start, and this time it's neither the Buckyball Racing Club nor the elite racers who are the sponsor. The Soteria Accord is planning a celebration, and it needs spirits quickly. Delivered quickly, that is, although it doesn't really care what day the spirits are delivered, in an 11-day window from the 12th of August through to the 22nd. It's just important that they're delivered as quickly as possible after purchase, so they're nice and fresh. 20-minute aged brandy is so much better than the 10-year sort. If you want to take part, you need to take a small ship, load it up with 1 ton each of Lavian brandy, Erin Pearl whiskey, Harmer Silver Sea Rum, and Indie Bourbon, and sell it all at Glass Landing in HIP 110248. You need to video or photograph it all too, so we hope you started the camera running before you left, and you need to read the rules properly. Don't tell me you forgot to do that too. As with almost every race, the prejudice against Jumponian raises its ugly head with jump boosting banned. Somewhat disappointingly, Centauri Mega Gin has been left off the list of required beverages, which is a pity, given how lovely Hutton Orbital looks at this time in its orbit.
And that's this week's Galnet News. Galnet News. It's almost as good as being twatted by Sally.